Today's wildlife topic is about giraffe. Hey kids, do you know how tall the giraffe is and how do they drink? Learn all about these impressive tall mammals including their species facts, their diet and the best places to see them in their natural habitat. The giraffe is an African eight-toed ungulates and the world's tallest living terrestrial animal. According to a study in 2016, it suggests that giraffe is not a single species, but a subfamily containing distinct species: the northern giraffe, the southern giraffe, reticular giraffe, and the Basai giraffe. To make the groundbreaking discovery, the team examined DNA taken from the skin biopsies of 190 giraffes collected across Africa. This sampling included populations from all 9 previously recognized giraffe subspecies, which may now be spread across the 4 species. The difference in each group's genetic composition suggests that there is a little crossover between the various species, which implies that they must have evolved separately. The giraffe is the tallest mammal in the world, standing at around 4 to 5 meters high, and the tallest giraffes ever recorded have been up to 5.9. That's over a meter higher than the double-decker bus. It shouldn't come as a huge surprise that such a large animal weighs quite a lot as well, up to 1900 kg, which is more than most cars. One of our favorite giraffe facts is that they are probably the world's biggest pollinators in the world, and thanks to their height. As they wander around feeding from top of the trees, they inadvertently transfer genetic materials on their muzzles from the flowers of one tree to the another. How many bones do giraffes have in their necks? Despite being incredibly tall, giraffes still only have 7 vertebrae in the neck, which means a giraffe's neck has the same exact number of bones as the human neck. With difficulty, a giraffe's neck is too short to reach the ground. As a result, it has to be awkwardly shuffle and spread its front legs to reach the ground for a drink of water. Fortunately, giraffes only need to drink once every few days, as they can get most of their water from the plants they eat. Giraffes mostly eat fresh leaves and twigs from the top of the trees, where other browsing species can't reach them. That means giraffes can afford to be pickier than most big animals, and they are also better able to cope with drought than smaller animals, as the tallest trees tend to have the deepest roots that reach down to water than the other trees can't access. But you might be surprised to discover that the seemingly gentle giraffes also eat bones. Giraffes aren't predators, so they don't kill other animals, but the huge skeletons require more calcium and phosphorus than they get from a strictly vegetarian diet. The easy solution is to chew the bones from the carcass to make their own bones stronger, a behavior known as osteophagy. It was previously thought that giraffes are quiet animals that don't make a noise. However, the research now suggests that the giraffes in fact hum mostly at night with the occasional snort or grunt. What is a baby giraffe's call, and how do they stand so quickly after the birth? A baby giraffe is called as a calf, and incredibly it has the ability to stand with the odd ovule sooner after being born. It is thought that the long gestation period of giraffe, that is 15 months, helps the calf become more developed so that it can stand and walk at a very early stage. A fully grown giraffe can raise or lower its head up to 5 meters, so it might actually pass out where it is not for a dense network of fine capillaries that cushions its brains against rapid changes in blood pressure. Other adaptations to prevent sudden giraffe collapse are valves to stop the backflow of blood and the elastic valve vessels that dilate and constrict to manage flow. NASA has even done research on the blood vessels in giraffe legs to get inspiration for human space suits. Are giraffes endangered? Current giraffe number mean according to the International Union for Conservation of Nature classifies the animals as the species of least concern. But if the results of the study above lead to the total giraffe population being split between 4 species, the adjustment could lead to one or more of them being classified as a species under threat. Where do giraffes live? The natural habitat for giraffes used to be distributed towards North and the West Africa, including the Sahara and along the Nile. However, today giraffes are only found in sub-Saharan Africa. How did giraffes evolve? Surprisingly enough for an African species, the giraffes originated from Eurasia, probably temperate Eurasia. This genus evolved 7 to 8 million years ago. Are any other animals related to giraffe? The giraffe genus is a part of Giraffidae family which contains only one other species, the rare okapi, the closest relative to giraffe. The forest dweller has a short neck just like the extant species for which both it and giraffes are thought to have been evolved. While the okapi's white and black hind stripes might make you think of zebras, the resemblance is purely coincidental. Do giraffes walk like horses? Unlike most of the four-legged mammals like horses, giraffes swing both legs on the same side at almost the same time during the walk, known as pacing. Camels walk in the same way, and you'll find the sideways motion if you ever take a ride. When a giraffe breaks into a gallop, its odd walk disappears and it runs in more than the normal way. How big are giraffes' hooves? Giraffes' feet are the size of the dinner plate with a diameter of 30 cm. These huge hooves prevent giraffes from sinking into the loose sand despite their great weight. Can giraffes swim? Until recently, it was widely assumed that a giraffe's long spindle legs would not provide sufficient purchase in water to support its neck, and that the proportions of its elongated extremities to its short body would reduce the buoyancy. Therefore, the giraffe was supposedly the only mammal in the world that could not swim. But it was probably wrong. According to his study, he used a big complex digital mode to prove that the average adult giraffe could in fact become buoyant in 2.8 meters of water. Admittedly, its heavy front legs would tip the animal forward, so to keep its head clear, it would need to crank its neck backward at an awkward angle, while the legs swept to the rear would have limited power. So a giraffe could theoretically swim, but it would almost certainly never choose to, and it would be pretty terrible at it anyway. What's the point of giraffe's horn? Both males and the female giraffes have horns at birth, more probably known as ossicons. They lie flat and are not attached to the skull to avoid injury at the time of birth. They only fuse with the skull later in life. Giraffes' horns become formidable weapons in adult males own bare of skin at the tips. Old bulls may even have patches of bare bones elsewhere on their massive craggy heads. How do giraffes give birth? A giraffe giving birth is a bit of worrying sight if you haven't seen it before. Females give birth by standing up so that the first thing a baby giraffe knows is a 2-meter fall to the ground. Despite the bumpy start, baby giraffe can stand up within an hour of the birth. Giraffe usually have a single baby born after a 15 months of gestation period. But because they are unable to breed all year round, giraffes do not need to resynchronize with the season each time they give. Sadly, about 50% of the giraffe calves do not survive the first year. Does each giraffe have a unique pattern? Just like human fingerprints, no two giraffes have the same pattern. Researchers who spend long enough studying the same giraffe eventually find that they can recognize dozens or even hundreds of individuals from their pattern. How do giraffes cope up with high temperatures? It's thought that the pattern on the giraffes doesn't serve or camouflage the animal but also helps the temperature regulation too. The colored skin patches can act to dissipate heat around the body as the temperature on the skin is slightly lighter in the darker regions, facilitating the dilation of vessels beneath the skin's surface. Giraffes also have an efficient nasal cooling system to regulate the brain temperature up to 3 degrees centigrade lower than the rest of the body. How long is a giraffe's tongue? Giraffes' tongue are huge. They are bluish purple prehail and between 45 to 50 centimeter long, perfect for carefully ripping fresh leaves from between the spikes at the top of the acacia trees. Do giraffes fight? When fighting, males giraffes will push and shove each other. This occasionally escalates into powerful blows delivered by their muscular necks. The loser can be knocked out and sometimes even be killed. How big is a giraffe's heart? A giraffe heart can weigh up to 11 kg, making it the biggest of any other mammal. It can pump 60 liters of blood around its body every minute at the blood pressure twice that of an average human being. How long does giraffes live? Giraffes in the world tend to live between 20 to 25 years.